Yeah, this is gonna be the part 2 of what I was talking about earlier. Just a little warning. I am planning to. I just started listening to David Harvey audiobook on Das Kapital commentary, and I am also going to be it is meant to read. That book is meant to read it as you're reading Das Kapital. So I will be covering Das Kapital volume 1, 2, and 3 with the commentaries for the next little while. There is so much things to discuss. Like even now today, after just 1 hour of this audio book, it kind of blew my mind, and I'm still processing that information. But I do want to make videos to really discuss it and how these concepts are still very applicable in today's time. Now, earlier I was talking about Ukraine and all that. So, ultimately, Ukraine is going to lose the war. That is a given. It's not a matter of if, but a when. It is just a slow grind. And everything we're seeing, the Ukrainians, they're not able to keep up with their military quotas, weapons. They're out of everything. Russia, on the other hand, they still have lots of manpower. They're not running out of men. But Ukraine does, and the morale of Ukraine is also been draining. Not Russia. Of course, the curse has been a huge PR victory, and I'm still trying to figure it out. But one thing I will say, they're not going to hold that territory. I'm going to make this prediction right now. Ukraine will not be able to hold to Kursk. It was just a PR victory, and it has no, even though it has, you can say there's some strategic value behind it, but there can't even hold to the basis that they have fortification that has been built for over past 8 years. They're being demolished left, right, and center, all across the front line. Russia, in a sense, it is not surprising that Ukraine was able to get so much land in the first place, because the tactics of Russia, they don't care about land. They take care about manpower. They're trying to conceive as much resources as possible. And this is one thing that I have been struggling, because in World War II, Russia lost about 22 million soldiers, and the Nazis lost about 8 million. 6 or 8 million. Does that something of those like? The Eastern Front was the most devastating front. They took the most casualties. That is a fact of World War II that is not discussed enough. Like, and for the longest time, we actually have data that showed how Europe was grateful for the USSR victory, and over time, it shifted, and it kind of went towards the US being great for saving Europe. It is one of those things that is happening. But anyways, the question that I am wondering is, why is it the sending troops, like, they were able to win that war by just keep piling bodies, but right now in Ukraine that is not working? I am not a military expert by any means of the imagination. I am not a person. Like, if you want to ask me about the names of guns and you want to meet the names of battles and what happened to this battlefield, or what happened, the different strategies that took place, I am not your guy. That is beyond my field of expertise. Like, I will not be able to tell you at all the different submarines that exist, the different kinds of gun that exist. I know there's M4, M16, AK-47s, but I was not able to tell you the difference between different models. Like just recently, I called it an M16 instead of an AR-15. I mixed up the names of the gun. I am not an expert in that field at all. I really am not. So don't take me. This is just my opinion, and I just don't really have any knowledge on that field. But I'm still wondering, why is it that Russia was able to win World War II but Ukraine is not? What's the difference? And that was something for the past about a year or two that I've been pondering that question, and I've been seeking that answer. I have not really found anything yet. It's probably going to take me a few years, let's be honest, to really. It is going to take me a few years to. I'm probably going to find some sort of documents that will explain it, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense why. But for the time being, I am not an expert on that. It's like, but what I do know is the economy. And it could be, and this could be a possibility. It could be, this could be a possibility. Might be completely off the mark, but this could be a possibility. But I was thinking, I know for one thing the USSR did was Stalin industrialized his economy because he knew that the Nazis were going to attack. I am not going to delve into World War II topic. That's an entirely different story. But the point is, the USSR in less than 40 years had to industrialize from a semi-peasant society to a world superpower. You still had countless people who had no education, who were peasant. And they industrialized their economy in less than 40 years. Like, just think about this. Like, I don't remember where I heard it, but this kind of stood out to me. During World War I, Russia was still using 1900 military tactics. Like 1800s, like 1800s, like using cavalry charge, that kind of things. They were using outdated mode of warfare. Like they were behind to what the West was. And they had to industrialize. And when Lenin took, when the USSR took power, in less than 40 years, they were able to not only industrialize, but fought a world war where they won. Yes, I do know that there was some land lease that the US gave to the USSR. They gave them some tanks, whatever. And a lot of the people would say, oh, look, they still had to use the US manufacturing stuff. But the one thing that is not being discussed, they also produce their own gear. Yes, their gear were crappy. They're by any means. From I understand, they were not that great, but they were still able to mass produce it. And they're able to supply, so they were able to keep it in the game. Like, and I know, like a lot of military theory. They talk about like logistic wins wars. But what about the ability to produce not only logistics, but also able to produce your own equipment? This is something that the Western world, and this it just keeps, in the last 40 years, because of the neoliberalism, there have been demilitarized, industrialize their economies. Yes, there's still some manufacturing jobs, whatever. But they're not, but they keep outsourcing. They're like, one of the biggest thing you keep hearing from the US is like, oh, we're going to create manufacturing jobs. Why? Because they keep demanufacturing their economies. They keep outsourcing their their things to the third world. Is it because Why are they outsourcing? Why they're sending the manufacturer overseas? That's a different story. But the point is, we're living in a rent-based economy, and this is a concept I've been focusing in lately. When we think about rent, we're thinking about like renting an apartment or a bedroom, something, or renting a lot or a building or whatever. When I talk about rent, I'm talking about all form of passive incomes. Just yesterday, no, it was Tuesday, sorry. I was helping a friend of mine moving some stuff from a locker, like it is an outdoor locker. This person is a small storage facility, but each locker, like the smallest size, is about like $90 a month to rent one of those. And we kind of made some vague estimate, and we assume that they're probably making about $5,400 a month. All they're doing, they're earning a passive incomes and just letting other people using their storage units, and they're just collecting that money. That's rent. That, and we're also talking about debt. The stock market. We're not actually producing anything. We're living in a financial society where you're making money out of money, not through goods and services, but through commodities. That's just kind of. And I just thought about something about it's what I was listening of Das Capital, but anyways, I just thought about something. I just clued in, but that's a different story. I'm going to leave that and leave it at that for now. But whenever I do make that video about Das Capital, I will definitely bring up the thought that I just had. It has to do just a little foreshadowing. It has to do with what is a commodity, and we keep talking about goods and services, and I just connected that a service is still a commodity. I will explain why, and it is only just a foreshadowing. Anyways, going back on what I was saying about Ukraine, about manufacturing. We're not able to produce anything. Like, we're barely able to produce anything in the West. But what the USSR did, even after the fall of the USSR, they kept their manufacturing stuff. They had huge factories in Russia, just ready to be used. They may not be able to use it, and they don't need it all the time, but it's ready to be used. Of course, in a Western world, we'll say, At what cost? Why you will need that? You should downsize it. You don't need to have these kind of gigantic facility that you don't even need to use. And yet, this facility are ready to start pumping up material, and Russia is able to basically able to manufacture their goods that they need to survive. That just makes sense. That really does make sense. So the reason, so if my theory actually holds up, the reason that during World War II Russia could afford to sacrifice their men, they had the manufacturing ability to keep equipping their men. However, in Ukraine, they're not able to continually supply all their gear to be at maximum capability. That makes sense. As a result, because Russia is able to continually outproduce the West, and I remember listening to the New Atlas, and he was talking about how Russia was able to produce something like 2,000 ammunition a year, a month, or something like that. 2,000 ammunition a month, while the West can overproduce something like 1,000 ammunition a year. I have to. It's been a while that I actually listened to his stuff and listening to the manufacturer. But if that wouldn't make sense as to why they are able to be on. And of course, the World War America was still able to supply stuff for Russia. But the difference between US then and now, they demanufacture themselves. They don't have the same manufacturing capability that they once have. Which is why they can't supply the equipment that they actually need for Ukraine. I'm going to go with that theory until someone is able to tell me why I'm wrong. I'm pretty confident that is true. Now, of course, I would say it is my opinion, and I'm not stating that as a fact. That's why I'm calling it theory. But if my theory holds, that is why they're able to hold it. And I need to look at other battles to see if that's also true. Now, one thing, I don't need my sunglasses anymore. This is almost the end of the day. If my theory, going back to how the Ukraine war started, and it is a lot of, and I'm noticing that a lot of people are forgetting this. And I was talking about how the West is always the West. Keep talking about it. Is going to take 3 days for Russia to take all over Ukraine or something like that. Putin only invaded after Ukraine basically invaded Donbass with a force of 200,000 men. This is something people kind of ignores. Ukraine actually had the second largest military in Europe. And just recently I actually found out that Ukraine, interested in the constitution, they have gun rights. Basically a form of a Second Amendment. They believe that they can own guns as a right. So you basically had a really well-equipped, really militarized Ukraine. And then de facto, like I always get the de jure and de facto mixed up. One is legally they're part of NATO. The other one, they're everything. They're part, but not legally. They're part of it, but not legally part of it. And the West has been supplying and all, supplying to training all the troops and all that. So these forces, this 200,000 man force, invaded Donbass. About 3 days before Putin launched his invasion. That is something that people, that when I listen to pro-Ukraine sources, they never talk about this part. But when Putin invaded, he obviously tried to do another Georgia. That is true. He tries to invade, basically try to take as much as possible. Here's the facts that we know of. There were negotiations was taking place between Kremlin and Kiev. They were doing some negotiation. We know that Russia retreated their forces from Kiev to Kharkov region. At that time, Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, went to Ukraine and basically told Zelensky to shut down the negotiation, and they're going to be fighting to last Ukrainian until Russia is out of Ukraine. There's no negotiation until Ukraine gets all of the borders, including Crimea. Then Russia retreated from the Kharkov region to the Donbass, which is they gave up their land, and shortly afterwards they gave up the Kharkiv region, past a river line. These are the facts that we know. We also do know that every time that Russia retreated, Ukraine forces suffer massive casualties. And I remember watching videos during that time period where you have Ukrainian paramedics saying, our original men are gone. Our original forces are wiped out. They keep losing. Like, for every one Russia gets killed, 5 of us gets killed. The kill ratio was like 1-8. Like I've seen ratios to 1-5, 1-8, 1-12, 1-20 in that neighborhood. And if you actually like the ratio in World War II, it was something like 1-5, something like that. But, and this is my theory, the reason he was able to do it was because, as I said earlier, it was the manufacturing. And the way that Putin is doing, he's trying to slowly grind the forces. And it's like they decided to go to a attrition warfare from the beginning. Now, we also have videos later on that Putin stated, we literally have signed documents that we were ready to have a peace deal before Boris Johnson went. And the reason that we retreated in the first place, it was because we wanted to do a good faith maneuver. Throughout this whole process, I said, and the one thing he also made an acknowledgement to, did point out to the Ukrainians, your neoliberal trade deal, they're causing you to de-manufacture your own country. You used to be a powerhouse for manufacturing, but because of your neoliberal trade deal, they robbed you. they stole from you. And I'm like, he's dead on. Yet the West anyways. So I kind of more on the side of version of, yeah, he probably retreated because he didn't want to do a good faith advocate. But he also do know that after the and I think what is made it very clear is that after they realized that the negotiations fell through, there was a quickly organization where they needed to go to the attrition warfare, and that time was on their side, and that is why they retreated from the Kharkiv regions, because these were not positioned. They were too stretched thin. They were not defensible enough, and they build massive defensive lines. I'm talking massive, like 520. Like last time I heard, like they're 20 layer deep, and of course every time what Ukraine did in their counter offensive, they lose massive amount of troops. They just kept losing more and more troops. It was a gigantic waste. But that is how they're. But because it has such a strong start, where for the longest time the West, they're winning because they keep getting more land. Russia keeps retreating. They're mocking the Mongolian, whatever the word is, Mongols warfare. It's just a cope. But as we see now, the result of those things, like Ukrainians are demolished. They have nothing. And this is a very important lesson for us to really consider. Logistics is important, but the ability to produce your own commodities is also vitally important. And yes, of course, the West sanctions Russia, and they're able to survive. Why? Because they were able to produce their own stuff. They're not reliant on the Western goods and services. They were self-sufficient enough to actually produce their own goods and services, and they're right now in a very strong economy. They have a very strong economy. But Ukraine is not able to do it. The West is not able to withstand this kind of shock. But it only shows that in the long run, what Russia was, they were being strategic, and they are going to win this war. And the whole Kursk invasion by Ukraine is just a PR stunt. Like, from everything I've seen, I don't see this as be a lasting victory. They might cause some major damage, but they will be retreating. They will have to give up because they are not able to keep up with the logistics and, more importantly, the commodities that you need to sustain it. And I'm referring the ammunition, the supply that they need to wage this one as commodities. Anyways, I meant to talk more about what is happening in the U.S. elections and Israel, but I just ended up talking with Ukraine today. That's fine. Another time I'll be talking about those other issues, and they're still very prevalent. I guess it's time to say goodbye, and till the next time.